Okay, this is Block 8, Pax Americana, Section 1, Post-War America, with the section, the baby boom. When times are tough, people don't have children, as much as they do when times are good. When times are good, people produce lots more children. They figure that they're optimistic, they're hopeful about the future, and when people are hopeful about the future, they produce people to fill up that future. And in the post-war world, Americans were very, very optimistic. And because they were very, very optimistic, they produced lots and lots of babies. There was a lot of the horizontal hula going on in the bedrooms of the United States in the 15, 20 years after World War II. But when the soldiers got back home, let me tell you, they started working on the job of creating babies as quickly and as efficiently as they possibly could. The time between 1946 and 1964, that 18-year period, saw a massive increase in young families. People had houses out in the suburbs, people were glad to be home, they were optimistic about the future. Why not have a slew of children? And that slew of children became known as the baby boom. Between 1946 and 1964, over 30 million babies had been born. The fertility rate in the United States hovered around 3.5 women per child. That every American woman in those 18 years had an average of 3.5 children. The massive numbers of kids created this demographic bulge that continues to this day. First, they crowded into America's schools, and then they drove teen culture of the 1950s and 1960s. Swamped the job market in the 1970s and 1980s, and now they are beginning to put an enormous strain on Social Security and Medicare. All of those programs for people of retirement age, the baby boomers, those people born in those 18 years, the baby boomers are starting to retire, and they are going to be sopping up a whole lot of Social Security and Medicare for the rest of their lives. When is that going to start? It starts right now. Literally around 2011, 2012, 2013, all the boomers are starting to retire. They're turning 65 years old, and they are like, where's my Social Security? Where's my Medicare? And we are all going to have to pay for it. Moving out to the suburbs had a different role also. It split extended families up. And Americans started living primarily in a nuclear family setup. You know, that typical 50s perfect family. Mom, dad, 3 children, and the dog in the little house with the white picket fence out in the suburbs. It's not a joke because that's how millions upon millions of people lived. But people lost connections with previous generations, with extended families. And when you lose that, you also lose that transmission of knowledge. You know, you learn, or used to learn, how to raise a kid by your mom was there with you. So, you know, you're a young mother, you're 24 years old, and you have a question about, you know, what to do when the baby cries. You ask your mom. She's right there. She's in the same house. She's next door. She's in an apartment building across the street. Now with suburbanization, that social capital is lost. And where do people start getting information from? They start getting it from books. The most popular book was called The Common Sense Book of Baby and Child Care by a guy by the name of Dr. Benjamin Spock. And Dr. Spock promoted a child-centered approach to parenting that discouraged spanking, don't smack your kids around, and challenged the notion that children should be seen and not heard. When your child wants to say something, let them. They have their own voice, their own expression, all those sorts of things that strict parents laugh at. Then and now. The boomers were raised very differently from their parents, and the result of that different upbringing would be seen in the cultural tumult of the 1960s and 1970s.